Hi, my name is Shar, and I am here with my coworker Steve, and we are going to introduce you to our wolf pack and talk about some of the pack dynamics that we have happening here at the zoo. So we have a group of 5 siblings. 3 of them are 11, 2 of them are 10. We have Gambit, who is in the center, the darker gray one. He is what we would refer to as the alpha male. In captivity, if you have a group of wolves that are more siblings and you don't have a parent on top, like a breeding pair, they have to figure out who is the alpha, and that usually is based on personality. So Gambit has a very confident personality, and he's established his role as the alpha. So he kind of controls the feeds and the play and makes sure that everyone is doing what they're supposed to do within the pack. Next in line, we have Bear, who is at the back. He is eating, and he is what we would call the beta male. So he is next in line to the alpha. He is constantly challenging Gambit and always seeing what boundaries he can push. He would be a potential to be our new alpha should Gambit ever step down from that role. Then we have Onyx, who is over on the side, and we've got Slate, who is way over there. And they're just our mid-ranking wolves. They kind of have a role where they will switch back and forth with who is dominant over who between the two of them. But in general, they just kind of hang out. They do what the group does. It's all fun and games for them. And then we have Jack. So Jack is eating beside Gambit. He is what we would call our omega. His entire role within the pack is to help alleviate tension and keep the pack in a happy, fun mood. So whenever there is a dispute between Gambit and Bear, Jack is always there to help, curb what's going on. He will get in between the two. He will be very submissive to them, and he'll try to redirect their focus so that they're not as heavily focused on each other. And that, in a pack dynamic, will help alleviate the tension where there would be a possibility for wolves to hurt each other. It doesn't always work. Tension still will get high. You've got a family living together. They're going to have disagreements. But in general, it's a really good way for them to alleviate that scenario that's happening. One of the things that is different between our pack and a pack that you would find in the wild is we don't have a mother and we don't have a father who would be your natural alpha and matriarch. So usually a pack would consist of the 2 parents and then their offspring, and they could stay with their parents up to 5 years. So you can have multiple generations within one family unit. Here we have siblings. So they are constantly challenging and figuring out who is on top.
We have a question here asking how many wolves would typically be in a pack?
You could have any number of wolves in a pack. When you have dispersers who are leaving their family group for the first time, it starts out with just 2. Typically it'll be a male and a female, but there's been other cases where it's a couple of males until they establish their own pack.
And we have another question asking, what would happen to a wolf if it didn't have a pack?
If a wolf didn't have a pack, it would be referred to as a lone wolf. They can sustain on their own. They'll just hunt smaller prey, and they'll have to be very careful about what territories they cross into. But typically when a wolf leaves its natal pack, it's looking to start a new one or join up with an existing one.
A few people are asking what we're feeding them, and what do wolves normally eat? How much do they eat during a day?
Wolves will typically eat anything that they can catch. So rodents all the way up to moose. It depends on their territory range and what animals are found in that range. We are currently feeding them, it's a ground up meat. It's a complete diet. They get that along with dog food in a day. And each wolf will get about 200 to 300 grams of that a day. Plus they share 2 kgs of kibble, and then they'll get offered some whole prey such as rabbit or chicken or bones throughout the week.
Someone's asking where these guys sleep, and do pack dynamics play into that at all?
They tend to sleep on the heated rocks that are just behind where they're standing. They do also have an indoor area that they can choose to come in and out of as they please. Typically what we see is we'll see the top wolves go to bed first and start having a nap. Jack will usually be off to the side. Being the omega, he tends to do everything after everyone else. So when the rest of the pack is settled, then he will settle as well. And that's also included in feeding. He will eat last. So they have their own schedule. They go for their noon nap and then they have their end of day nap. So yeah.
Someone also asking, how does the alpha wolf get established?
Oh, well, the alpha wolf can establish his dominance in a couple of ways. Sometimes it is related to having to compete, so that would involve, a level of fighting with another wolf. Sometimes their personality, they just kind of slide on in there, and they're a big, boisterous personality, so they can just kind of take on that role, and the other wolves will follow suit. Hi, Gambit.
A few people asking where these wolves came from, our zoo wolves.
These wolves in particular came from a facility in BC. We got them 5 or 6 years ago, and we've had them ever since.
Maybe
Sure.
let's see if we can see them a little bit up close there. It looks like they're just walking away a little bit.
Yeah.
So when one started to leave where we are now, we noticed that all the rest followed.
Yes.
Does that have anything to do with the pack?
Generally, being a family unit, they want to stick together and they feel safe when they're all together. So if one is leaving the area, the others will generally follow. And typically when there is something new to be explored, like if we're doing a feed, Gambit is typically the one leading them to that area.
Looks like a couple might be coming.
Yeah.
Question here, why does their fur change color and when does it change color?
So their fur will get a little bit darker when their winter coat comes in, but it won't necessarily change color fully like with an Arctic fox. So they will get lighter in the summer as they lose those long hairs that keep them warm. But generally speaking, this is fairly similar to what their summer coat looks like.
Question here, how loud is their howl? When do they howl? And why would they howl?
They have lots of reasons to howl. Sometimes they are just singing good morning and having a good time, and it's expressing that they're having a good day. Sometimes wolves will howl when they're trying to locate other wolves. It lets other wolves know that they're in the area, how many there are, that sort of thing. Sometimes it's just pure excitement. So if they know that the keepers are coming or that they're going to get a treat, they'll howl. And it's very unpredictable. Generally we hear them howling in the morning when we're coming in for our morning shift, but it's unpredictable the rest of the day.
I had a great question here. Just want to find it again. What would a wolf's predators in the wild be?
Wolves are an apex predator, so there's not too many. A lone wolf would have to worry about cougars and bears, but for the most part, a pack of wolves doesn't have too many predators. They actually will struggle more with competing packs. So that would be their main concern. And then obviously people are a predator of wolves. We would be their main predator.
And what is a wolf's life expectancy?
In the wild, 8 to 12, depending on food availability, and if they got injured or not. In captivity, 15, give or take a few years.
Do you guys at the zoo have a favorite wolf, one that really tugs on your heartstrings the most?
I think everyone can agree that Jack tugs on our heartstrings the most, but we do really love them all. They all have a unique personality. They all bring something fun to the table when it comes to training and enrichment and just in general watching their daily behavior. But Jack is probably the loudest personality because he's the jokester of the group.
How big are these guys? How much do they weigh? And can you talk about their size a little bit?
Well, we haven't gotten a current weight on them recently, but Slate was our heaviest at 120 pounds, give or take. Most of them are in the 80 to 90 range for a weight.
Great. Great question here. How do you tell the wolves apart?
We tell the wolves apart. Being that we're with them every day, we get to know their different facial features. So they all have different colorations and, nose shapes. And so when you're up close with them, you do get to know them.
Great. Anything else you want to add before we sign off? Looks like our wolves left us.
Not too much else. Wednesday is a red panda talk at 10 a.m. So be sure to check that out. And thanks for watching.